Okay, so I'm assuming that so we are good. So let's continue with that. So let me launch my STS.
Shane, this is small doubt actually, not regarding this screen.
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Srini, can we join tables from two different schemas?
Yes, it is possible, but what you need to do is, so you need to add something called synonym. So if you
Sorry?
add a synonym,
And
and
hello?
and, and then you can access it.
Your voice is not clear actually, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
Not hear clear?
So what I'm saying is, in the backend, in the database level, so you have something called synonym, database synonym. So using synonym, from which schema you want
Mhm.
to access. So that schema you need to write a synonym for to make it that is available. Then so if that synonym is added, then you can easily join. It's so that we are already using.
No, yeah.
Okay, you can also search in a Google, so you'll get a lot of information from the Google. So that's the same way you can follow here as well. Okay, so STS is launched, so let me launch it. I'm hoping that everybody is practicing. Okay, so STS is launched. Okay, all right, so All right. Okay, so the until last session, so we have seen how do we perform the various injections. So with various data level of objects, right? And so we have seen about the both in terms of constructor injections as well as setter injection. So hope you also practiced the set and map at your home, right? Let me clean the projects. Results. So, and so what we will do for this session, okay? So far when we are looking at the bean, right? So like across the all the projects from the day one, so that we started until our ninth project. So when we are really finding the bean, okay, so with the help of bean ID, right? So in the client class, if you open, so what exactly we are doing? So based on the bean ID, so which we are searching the bean, right? So what will happen, the same bean ID you have shared to multiple clients, but later, so my bean ID conflicting with some other bean ID, but I want to give the same name, but it is conflicting with many other beans, many other bean IDs, right? So, or maybe some built-in bean ID also having the some built-in bean ID also having the same name, right? So how do we resolve those conflicts? So how do we solve, right? Usually whenever the person is having with the same name, usually what we will do, we will try to call with him some alias name, right? Some alias name. So some other okay shortcut name or some other alias name we will use for to okay they call the person, right? A person can have the another alias name also. The similarly a bean can also have some alias names. Okay, so you can give the various alias names for the beans. Okay, not only bean ID. So far we are only familiar with the so writing a bean ID, and then so based on the so bean ID, so we are really getting the bean in the client class. You don't need to restrict the users to have only with the name of bean ID. You can still use the several ways to the access your bean. So that's called giving the alias names for your bean. Okay, so how do we do that? So how do we implement a alias beans for a bean class, and how a client can access? And I'll try to show you that. So I think it's not a very big concept, so very simple concept, but so it will be useful whenever if you want to access with various names. Okay, I'll try to make our project name. I'm just copying and pasting. So I'll try to change, okay, alias beans project.
Say we follow this rule only when we have multiple beans, right?
Yes, absolutely, you are correct. So whenever there is any multiple beans, so usually in the real world we will write multiple beans as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I am building a new project. I don't want to disturb the existing setup of those projects. Okay, so now new project is ready. So let me change the same thing in form artifact ID as well. Okay, So artifact ID, then project name. I'm changing both of them. So done. So simply, so if you want to really make any alias name, so if you want to really provide any alias name, okay, so for whichever the bean, so it doesn't matter what bean, okay, so that you are using. So and simply there is an element called alias. So simply there is an element called alias. So similarly, however you write a bean, so we have something called alias. So defines an alias for the bean, so which can reside in a different definition resource. But your client is actually okay looking at some bean, but internally the definition is related to some other bean, right? That is what. So usually we will give the alias name to to use for different escaping purpose. So similarly here also can be, you can apply. So we don't want to disclose the the implemented class for our client. So we want to give some alias name. So he will only know that name until that alias, right? So but actual definition source, it is attached. The only if he's until look at the implementation definition, he cannot see, right? So I will be using alias attribute. So if you are going to alias, for which ID you want to give the alias name. Suppose I want to give EMP for this. Okay, I want to look at the alias, and then simply you can give any name for this. Suppose like let's say, so EMPOBJ1 alias. I'll give some name, something like this. Okay, so EMPOBJ alias. Okay, some alias name. Now as a client, I should be able to access the bean. So using not only from EMPOBJ, I can also access so using alias name as well. Let's see practically is it can be allowed. So now I'm a client. I thought, okay, so this is the actual name of the bean. But if you really look at, so as a client aspect, you really don't know whether that's alias name or the original bean name or original bean ID. You really not knowing anything about it, okay, until you to look at the definition of the source where it is defined, right? So now let me go to run this program. So run as Java application. So executing the Java application, run as Java application. Program is get started. It's loading this. Absolutely yes. So your dependency injection is performed, and if you see here the defining the, you can see the alias names. I think is part of this. No, okay, you can see other addresses, but actually you're not able to see that. But so okay, basically if you see right here in the client, I have not really mentioned the original bean ID, but what I mentioned, so using alias name, I should be able to get it. But is it also possible to access the bean ID? Answer for this is yes. So you can get the access from both using bean ID as well as even alias name also. Okay, so let me write, so system.out.println. So I'll just write it's taking time. Okay, okay, Spring core module is important, like whatever the fundamentals of which we are learning is important. Rest other concept is pretty simple, straightforward with other modules, but the only core has the different features. Okay, so bean lookup using bean alias, right? What is the name of alias? Okay, just you to display. The same thing you can also try for bean ID as well. So using bean ID is also possible. You can look up. So let me try to look up, so using bean ID as well. So what is the bean ID? EMPOBJ. Okay, So using bean ID, I'm trying to look up. So now if I go to here, run as Java application, yes, absolutely, I'm able to look up. So using both, so bean alias as well as bean object as well. So employee object as well. Am I right? But is this the only these two approaches, okay, for to accessing of the bean? No. There is also one more approach for to accessing of the bean. So that is called bean name. So a bean can have the ID. A bean can also have the name also. Okay. Let me give you some bean name. Okay. I can give some bean name. So empobj2 alias. Okay, this is another alias name. You can also give the alias name as a name, but so name is not recommended because the name can be duplicated in across the Spring configuration file, right? But so when it comes to the ID should be unique and the alias name what you are providing should be unique. Okay, so for this name, so can we use it to create one or more aliases illegally in XML? So multiple aliases can be separated by any number of spaces or couple names here. Someone is
Sada,
asking.
yeah, Sada here. Alias name can also be duplicate, right? It's just a user provided name.
Alias name is duplicate. Yes, for that bean ID should not be duplicated. Suppose if I'm using empobj and it should not be again the same name, right? Same alias name, which is a meaningless. But yes, it's a duplicated with the respective of other bean.
But I'm not just getting how it will overcome the conflicts when you are giving the alias name in the can you give some insight giving an example?
Okay, so what is your question? Can you repeat?
The question is in order to avoid the conflict we are going for alias name.
What
Okay.
conflict? First of all, let me come to the point of conflict. So what conflicts that you are expecting?
You are saying that there are name can be duplicate. That's the reason we need to go for the conflict something like. So,
Yeah, name can be duplicated. So that is what usually it will be not recommended to use the name as for looking at the bean. So it will not give you a conflict. I think at the time of deployment you will get simply the error saying that one bean have with the same name. Or maybe at the time of accessing the bean, so you can get the error message.
I'm not talking about the name part. Alias one.
Okay.
The one which
This
you have
alias name should
in
be
the
unique.
bottom.
This alias name should be unique. You cannot use this alias name for some other bean.
Does the system will be ensure that whatever the name if you try to give the duplicate name will it throw any message that it's already been there something?
Absolutely. Why not? Yes.
I didn't get you, Srini.
Yes. Yes. So first of all, let me run this and then we'll jump to your question. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So now I gave you for one bean. I gave one is bean ID is the name, and then so bean name, and then so I also gave alias name. So different names. Now if I try to look and then access, so bean okay alias bean ID and then so bean name. So now if I am trying to accessing, so I should able to access all these different ways. So here I am able to access using alias, able to ID with the help of name as well. Okay. So now moving to the question the Sada was asking about, if you give the same name for another bean, okay, does it allow, or if it is allowed, then how does it internally able to identify so this alias is belongs to only this bean, not something else. Okay, now for to solve this question, so I will try to for address class, what I'll do, I'll try to put some alias name here. I'll try to put some alias name. Okay, for this address overseas address object, what I am doing, I am giving the same alias name. For overseas address object, I am giving the same alias name, but EMP OBJ also have the same alias name. Let's see now what will be the conflict when you are trying to accessing with this alias name. Okay, so do you get this, okay, at deployment itself, or do you get the problem when you are accessing the bean? See here, simply, okay, and you got an exception. So okay, it is whichever is the latest, and that is the considering. So that is the latest is considering. So simply it is trying to returning the object as address, but actually you are trying to casting to employee bin. It is unable to cast. There is no problem for defining the alias, but in runtime you will get an exception, but so previous name will be overridden with the latest alias name. Hope you are following me. Suppose for example, if I write, so this is in the next line, so the order is important for writing the alias name. So now let me run this. So now I got an exception because class cast exception. Why? It is looking at the address object, but in my client what I'm casting? Employee bin. So we got a class cast exception. So now if I try to attempt, so run as Java application, my program should work as it is, because the previous alias name is overridden with the latest alias name. So the address object is overridden with the alias. So ultimately it will maintain only one, similar to your set or map concept. In map you have a key, right, with the same key but different values. So what will happen? So it will be overridden the latest key value. Does it answer your question, Sada?
Yes, but when in the beginning you just mentioned that, correct me if I'm wrong, aliases, we will go for alias, just to avoid the conflicts, or just give a name something. Is it just give a name?
Some name, okay, you can. So generally, for what purpose we use alias? General, okay, forget about your Spring framework, okay, forget about, okay, this. So generally, why we will go for alias?
It's like a replica.
Just to call with some other name or something.
Exactly. The same case here also it is applicable. You don't need to always depends on ID. Still, okay, you have another scope to access with another name also. Using alias also, still you can look up your bean.
Okay, fine. So I thought that I misunderstood that. So with alias we can just avoid the conflicts, but it's not that way. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? No problem. Okay, so and the other question, so I'm trying to answering. So if the same bean name, if you give to the other bean as well. So for overseas address also, I'm trying to mentioning the same bean name. So what will happen? Okay, if you mention both, immediately your XSD, the bean XSD is throwing an error saying that the bean name EMP OBJ alias is already used in another bean, okay, which you cannot use here. So it's a compilation problem. So the compilation error, so which you cannot apply it. Okay, so make sure that so wherever you are, it should be unique, and then so with that alias name, still you can access your bean. So the question here is, how do I know how many number of the alias names are there for a bean? Okay, how many number of alias beans are there? How many number of alias are there for a bean? So simply, if you want to know that, so in context dots, okay, there is a method in context. So get aliases. So the get aliases will give you the list of alias names assigned for that particular bean. Clear? And so you can pass either bean ID or bean object or some, okay, ones of which you want to search it. Suppose I'll pass bean ID. For this bean ID, how many aliases are there? And that many alias you can mention. So it will return you the string array, values, alias list. Okay, what I'll do, I'll try to convert to list, and then we will display the alias names. Okay, so how do you convert array to string? Anybody knows? How do we convert array to string?
String method.
Sorry. That's my mistake. How do we convert so array to array list? How do we convert? Okay, array to array list. Because if I display as a list, so what it will display? It will display as the hash code, but which I don't want to show the hash code. So here it is displayed as So if you print a list object, so what it will do? It will display comma separated values. I'm really lazy to iterate this array. Then so what I want to do? I want to convert to array list. How do you do this? Okay, so the simple thing, so arrays has the method arrays java.util package has the arrays dot as list is the method. So you can pass your array, and so you can convert it, right? Okay, so arrays dot has list, you can convert so your array object as a list. So now you can see, so these two are the alias values. So one is empobj1 alias, so that is the actual alias name, and empobj2 alias is your name. And anyway, the bean ID is already there. Using that, you have already looked up. Okay, this is the another way to, if you want to really detect as a client, I want to know how many aliases are there for this bean ID or bean name or bean alias. You can still look up using this. So these are all the different approaches to having a alias for a bean. Any questions? And before we move on to the next topic. So very simple concept, but try to apply and use it wherever it is applicable. All right. So I'll be keep moving on into the next example. Okay. Next example. So for whatever the project that we built, so we are depending on only a single Spring configuration file. Does the question, very popular interview question, does Spring allows multiple configuration file in the application? Can you guess an answer?
We can.
Okay. So Ankur says yes, I can. But if that is the case, how does Spring follow the instruction orders? How does Spring is going to be bootstrap? And which file it depends? Okay. I'm just asking a question. Okay. So maybe if you don't know also, no problem. So I'm just want to hear from all of you, yes or no. So that is very simple to answer. You don't need experience.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I mean. Okay, how about others? Pramod and Sada? Come on guys, message me at least. Yes or no? Yes. Okay, all of your messages. Thank you for your response. Okay, everybody says yes, it is possible. Okay, the answer for this is yes again. So it is possible to maintain Spring configuration file with multiple configuration files, because for a small example itself, so we have written many beans. Our length of file is been increasing, right? So think about in real world application if you are building. So how many number of beans can you write in application? Okay, so I don't want to really see very big file of my Spring configuration file, and I want to split my file, and it depends on the setup also. So I don't want to show all the beans I want to write. So I want to segregate my beans. Like, let's say, suppose all the database related beans I want to maintain in one place, and all the infrastructure configuration like loading a properties file, activating of log4j, transaction management. So all these different infrastructure related configurations I want to maintain in one file, and application specific beans I want to configure. So this is the way if you segregate, so you are designing well designed application, right? So how do we really manage that? So which means that by splitting, right? So that is the way you can manage. So data source specific configuration details in one Spring configuration file, infrastructure configuration in some other file, and your application specific beans are configured in some other configuration file. So the maintenance of application would become easier. So let's see how do we handle this. Okay, how do we put it this? I'll build a new application to handle this. So I will use the AliasBeans project. So let me paste this. So this is our 11th project. Spring core, okay, the alias name beans. I'll just change the name of the project to some multiple config files. Okay. Spring core dependency injection, so multiple config files underscore projects. Okay, so let me change the project name and artifact ID. Okay, project is ready now. So what I'll do, okay, I'll try to split this, okay, into two different parts. Okay, I don't want to write all this data setup beans. I don't want to be creating this configuration file. I want to move all this into a different Spring configuration file. Let me see if I can do in a shortcut way. So refactor property, move this bean file. I'm just trying if I can do a match. I don't think so we can do in a shortcut approach. Okay, no problem. So what I'll do, I'll just try to copy and then paste it. Okay, I will write, okay, maybe this one I'll write infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure -config.xml file, where I am configuring my application specific features. Somebody is muted. Okay, so in this infrastructure config, okay, I don't want to configure in a main object. So main object I will remove from this. So this will only contains the specific database, okay, specific some configuration at this point. So let us assume, okay, so all the addresses beans I want to maintain in this infrastructure config.xml file. And when it comes to the my Spring config file, so I want to only maintain the actual bean which is going to be looking up by the clients. So now my Spring file looks very simple or not? Okay, very simple, because now you have equally partitioned. So now you have equally partitioned. So you have so some amount of data in one configuration file, and another one is, so you have in different file. Yes. Now if I run this program, so will it work? If I run this program, will it work? It should work, right? You should not make any changes on your client program, because So your client should not change this code, right?
But do we need to give the path of that new XML?
Exactly. Okay. So, but my client code I should not disturb. Okay, I don't want to disturb my client code, but my client. So whenever if I'm doing any partitioning, or so whenever if I'm dividing my configuration files, I don't want to make it change on my client. So how do we resolve this issue? So if you see here, absolutely there will be an error. Okay, so we have error saying that no bean named residence address, because the main Spring configuration file is trying to looking at this beans, but so there is no beans identified with this name. Can anyone guess how do we resolve this issue?
We need to give some references of that configuration file here.
I don't want to change
Yeah.
my. I don't want to change my.
No. So we can do one thing. We can redirect that infrastructure config.xml to Spring config.xml. Is it possible?
I did that, right? So we are already doing it.
No, it is not picking the data part, correct?
Do we need to give path of that infrastructure -config.xml into this Spring -config.xml? Where
So
is
someone,
located with path related details in
okay.
some tag.
Who answered that actually?
It is Ankur.
Ankur? Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So, but we got very good answer from both Kumar. Okay. So he answered. So something. So you need to recollect the knowledge of the OOPS concepts. In OOPS, so you have something called inheritance. Right. Part of inheritance. So what we will do. So if I'm in child class, but I want to access the parent class features. So what you can do? So you can extend the parent class, right? So that's the one thing. The second thing is, suppose if I'm in some Java class, if I want to access some util package related features, so what we will do? Simply we will import that util package. Exactly in the Spring will also follows the same concepts. So what exactly you need to do is in main configuration file, whichever the configuration file you feel that it's a main configuration file, simply go to that main configuration file and you need to import the dependent configuration file here. So import is an element, specifies an XML definition resource to import it. Okay, then specify where the file is located. So /com, okay, /easylearn / so infrastructure -config.xml file. That's it. So all the dependent beans will be loaded along with this main bean. So main configuration file is loaded. Now let's try. I'll go to run as Java application. Still file not found exception. Interesting. So classes com/easylearn. Oh, why it is again? Okay, com/easylearn. Again it is looking com/easylearn. Probably both are located in same place. I should not mention the complete path again, because fully qualified path is not required. Again it is trying to adding the same base path. So just infrastructure config.xml file is enough. Okay, so if it is in a different packages, then you can mention. If it is in same, you don't need to specify it. So now let me run this. Go to run as Java application. Perfectly working or not? So without disturbing of my client code, and I am still able to make it work. If you look at, is it really loading into the system? Yes. So the first it is looking at the parent file, that is spring-config.xml file is loaded successfully. From there it is also loading the dependent objects. So that is So com easy learn infrastructure config.xml file is also loaded into the memory. So now, and then it is able to perform the dependency injection. Make it able to solve, right? We are able to split it, at the same time we are able to load it. So this is called approach number 1. So does you think, is there any other approach without any imports? Do you think, okay, so before this, okay, main configuration file is loaded, I want to load some other configuration file which is equally important for me, and so I don't want to load until Spring configuration file is loaded. Spring configuration file will be loaded in very late phase. So that is, once if your application context is ready, application context container is ready, then only your Spring configuration file will be loaded. But I don't want to wait until that time to load my beans. Suppose, for example, suppose if you go to the database, so JNDI lookup, so database configuration, so database connections, so database connections and all this, I want to fail to deploy my application if database connection is not ready. So this I want to check before earlier of my container is ready, or my application context container is ready. Before that only I want to check whether the connections are ready or not. So absolutely what you need to do, and you cannot maintain that in part of this. So is it possible to load independent of this Spring configuration file? Do you think, is it possible? Okay, if it is yes, and where? Okay, looks like everybody calm and silent. That's okay. So this is a approach number 1. Okay, so either if you really want to so load as part of this main beans, then you can use this approach. Okay, and this is approach. Okay, approach number 1. And anyway, if I commented, it will not work, right? So you all know. The second approach is what you can do, the before activating the class path context, right? So what you can do, you can load both the files independently. You can load this configuration file independent to the other configuration file. So first I want to load infrastructure configuration file is ready, then only load my Spring configuration file, otherwise don't. So then simply, so what I am doing here, I am trying to loading individual configuration file. So individually you can load. So like this you can load multiple config files. So com/easylearn/infrastructure-config.xml file. So what I am doing, I am trying to passing a different parameters. Okay, so which is using varargs. So hope you know what is varargs. So you can pass a different configuration files to the application context. Still, if I run this, it should be able to work. Is it working? Okay, if you see here, so both the files here, previously first configuration file is loaded, then after infrastructure configuration is loaded. But now my interest is first load my infrastructure config.xml file, then later you can load the Spring config.xml file. Okay, so any questions from anybody?
Srini, one question here.
Yep.
Let's say we want to create one application. Hello.
You want to?
create one application.
Okay.
And then we want to create two modules, two separate modules. So can we do this thing application context one, creating one object of an XML? And
Okay.
other one, we can one more application context and we can give other XML. Let's say application context one.
Do you really need application context, individual context?
So that's what I mean. Is it possible because we are creating two modules, let's say in an application, which needs separate configuration file.
So what ultimately what you are going to be achieve, like if you create a separate application context module, what is your ultimate goal for to having this?
I am creating two modules. I don't want both modules to be communicated with each other.
Okay. So does it have any problem if it is communicated to each other?
Yeah, I want an independent modules, two independent modules.
Okay. So only thing why I'm asking this question is I don't want to make your application is burden to maintaining multiple application context. Okay. So unnecessary. So that is a performance load for to maintaining a separate application context modules for within the single application. And so as you are saying that, so this is not going to be communicating each other. Usually we will try to achieve to communicate the different modules, right? So usually we don't prefer to not communicate. So we will try to think about to communicate with these two modules.
So let's say if it's communicating also, but is it possible to create two contexts of two different XMLs, Spring XMLs?
Okay.
Not in single line. In
Let me try. I don't think so, but so let's see. Okay, what I'll do. So first one is I'm configuring with application context one. Okay, and the second one is I am trying to configure with the Spring config.xml file. So that's a context one. I'm making this a context two. Don't think so. Let's see. So you have an error. I know why we have the error, because let's try to load this also part of it. So yes, it is possible. We are able to do it right. So both application contexts are created separately. If you
So
look.
this means this is third approach to do this actually, right?
Means
Means we are already following two approaches. Third one we can proceed with this as well, right? Means if you remove the front part of this, that's an infrastructure. This one, can you remove this first argument? First
okay.
argument.
Wait. Okay, so now what I am doing is for the child context I am passing the parent context. Okay, for this child, okay, I'm passing parent context. Looks like so the bean factory is not initialized or already closed. Call refresh before accessing the application context. Okay, it is loaded, it is doing, but so what I am doing is I am passing parent objects. That is what I am seeing in a syntactically. So is it what you are saying?
No, pass other XML in next means like spring.xml, right? Spring config.xml passed in second line.
Okay, how does it communicates? Because I've already did that, but it is not working.
Okay, it's not working. No, second if you pass.
Maybe what I can do, like what
Two separate application contexts we'll use for these two different XML files. Yeah.
So one is config location, then application context. So let me pass this guy.
Context one. Yeah.
Can you remove the
And also context one we have to remove.
No, then it will not communicate actually.
Then so it can communicate. Yes, that is what. Yes, that's a good thought. I don't know this. Hello, Ajit. Give me 5 minutes, Ajit. Yeah, give me 5 minutes. I'll be joining. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't know this. Okay, so yeah, this is also a good approach. So we are creating another application context and then passing, but I don't know what ultimately the usage of this to maintaining a multiple application context. Okay, but again, so we are passing again. I think it's a kind of same divide, but I don't know what is the disadvantages. So probably I need to research. Okay, but at least good. So we are, so what I'm doing here, so hope you understand, right? Coding here. So I'm passing array of the values, so then I'm passing the parent context objects. And that's what the syntax looks like. Here, this one I'm using. But I don't know why this is not working. If this is working and this should work. Okay. But both the configuration files, so we are loading here, just we are passing a parent context and it should work. But I don't know why this is not working. And this is working.
Srini, one more question.
Yes.
Let's say we have created two different contexts, okay, like we have created before. We'll not pass the parent references to child because these are the independent context one and context are different applications, right? Let's say we have this client class right now. Later on the later stages, if you want to make it communicate, so we need to do changes in the front part of code or later stages. Also, we can inherit this class and we can do the changes.
Okay.
To communicate context one and context application.
You need to pass the parent, right? So while you are constructing your child context.
These are two different independent application.
Yes.
And later point of time, we want both application to be communicate with each other. Let's say message passing we want to do.
Okay.
So how we can do this?
So let's see if we have any context object. Is allowing for to load another context. I don't think so. So we need to look at the methods. Dot parent. So get parent. I think, okay, for to answer your, so you are saying that both the contexts are constructed independently, but in a later point of view phases, you want to communicate. So in some situation, I require you to communicate, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So when I'm looking at, so when I'm looking, yeah, go ahead.
And it's having context Spring DI client.java, and other one I have created is Spring DI client2.java, both having different contexts. Correct.
Okay.
And later point of time, I want to communicate both the application. I mean, I want both the client and client2.java both to communicate with each other.
Okay.
Means my data available in client context.
Okay. I don't. Yeah. I understand your question, but I don't think so that is possible, because when I'm trying to looking at the context aspect, I don't see anywhere to refer the another context object. So there is no methods. Okay. But I don't know, is there any utility class that can help to communicate? But as of now, when I'm looking at the context aspect, so I don't see any method which will allows you to communicate. But it is possible, okay, that if you are trying to constructing your child context, when you are okay, so you feel that so this context is a independent context, but so this is going to be depending on another context in later point of view time. While constructing the context itself, so you have to refer. Okay, that is what, okay, you have a solution. So solution is there.
Sure.
But both are constructed independently, but later point if you want to communicate, I don't think so there is a provision for to communicate so later on.
Yeah, right.
All right, so with that said, I think so that's it I have for this session. So probably when we are meeting the next session, I'll try to close the Spring Core. I think so we spent more. I think so we have to discuss a lot many other concepts are there. I thought I can complete, so we are extended. So let's see if possible we can try to leverage in the next session.
Srini, actually, for this watching this video, we need to convert it and then watch it. It takes lots of time.
Yeah. You have to convert. That's the only solution.
Yeah. Is there any other way we can do this in bulk or something?
Yeah, bulk also you can do. I mean, bulk also you can select. Okay, then so you can do it all in one shot, like 5 videos you can select, and then so it will run in the background and do your work.
No, but still it will take time. Like I guess 20 to 30 minutes per video it is taking.
Exactly. Yes, it is happening like that only. I don't have any control on that. But so that's what I asked the other batch students also. If anybody found any other good thing which will allow both recording as well as the quality of recording with various extensions. So maybe we will try to switch to that version. That's how.
Srini, I had a look, but almost whichever recording, wherever recording is available, that is a licensed product. Means they will give you 14 days trial, 15 days trial. That's all.
Okay.
It's a premium feature. We cannot. Means like I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. So either we need to buy it. Okay, but even if you, I think GoToMeeting we have already buy it, but even though so that's the feature. But initial days when I'm working on like 5 to 6 years ago, so they are on the spot, they are converting actually. But later because of many other requests, because it's not working in Mac and different the questions, and then they change like this. And the quality of the video, the quality of conversion also good actually. The initial days, so we are not seeing this much clarity of the video. So the voice what we discussed in the session and after the recording, so definitely there is a huge difference actually. But so when I'm looking at the recent videos after conversation, the voice clarity and the modulation is good. Okay, so I think so we have to look at one of this. So either we want to on-demand recording, yes, so we have some WebEx, the other so sites we have, but so we can use it, but I don't think so the quality of the
No, Srini, it is converting actually. You look, you have 2 files, right? Today for today's date. 2nd of August. So one is GoToMeeting, another one is MP4 video. So
No, this is my other batch. Okay, not related to yours. So my
okay.
just again before you, I have completed another session. I joined you. I just for them I just converted because those people are very night for them, so they are in US. Okay, so let me convert them and send it. So that's what I asked them, and then I'm converting. But I don't think so for your batch I can convert because I have to leave to office. Okay. All right, so I'll see if I can convert, then I can send it. If not, so please try to whenever, whichever the day, if I'm not converted, please try to convert it your side.
Srini, means like they are sending two different things, right? Means like one is notes and other is videos, right? So
Not
can
only
you
notes, right? Every day I'm sending the projects, notes, documents, materials,
so
projects.
let means you can let it upload in there only, na? Dropbox means notes as well as videos. So we'll download from a single repository.
No, again, okay, I have a limited space in the Dropbox. Okay,
Oh,
so it's maximum of 2 GB. I have daily. I'll run with 4 batches, and then I will be uploading all those videos. I think 1-2 days my Dropbox will be full, and again I need to delete from the Dropbox. And you don't expect the same videos in the Dropbox again. And please don't ask me because I don't have any backup. So, and that is you are responsible. The moment that you received your email, you should be able to download it. At least 1-2 days is okay. But if you are exceeding more than that, don't have any control for to get back to you that video. Okay, so please try to be prompt on the downloading of video. Later you can convert whenever if you have some time. Okay. All right, so thank you and have a good day to all of you. See you on the next session, and bye bye.